Okay, let me start. Okay. Hey everybody, welcome back. I can't even talk now. Okay.
You can't even see my face.
No, I can't, but it's fine. Alright. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hear Me Out podcast. I'm your host, Finley Evans, and on this podcast, we will talk about navigating faith and Christianity in today's world. So let's jump right into today's episode, and I hope you guys enjoy. Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I have on my cousin Kaitlyn, and she's been on here before. How many times have you been on? Just once?
Yeah, I think just once.
Oh.
You said one and done.
I did? When did I say that? Well, she was like also one of the first people on though. Like I interviewed you like a week after I started this.
Yeah, I was really nervous during that one too. I was like, why am I so nervous? That was like 3 years ago.
You're like,
but literally, yeah. I have been on your podcast, but not like video podcast, and still nobody knows what I look like.
Yeah, that's true. No one does. So next time you're coming in town in May, and we'll get your like face on here. Yeah, so this will just make them eager to want to come back for the great mystery of who is Kaitlyn Evans. Okay, well today we are going to be talking about relationships because it was just Valentine's Day. It was a little late, but like it's close enough, so it's going to work. And so yeah, I thought we just ask some questions that have been asked about relationships, and I thought I'd have someone on here who's older than me to talk about this just because I haven't had that much experience with this because I'm single. So, yeah, okay, so the first question I'll ask is, like, the first, like, section of questions, I kind of, like, section them off. One was about singleness and then breakups and then the actual part of dating. So, the first question, we'll start with, like, being single because that comes, obviously, before dating. So, it was, like, how do I stay patient when it feels like all of my friends are dating someone?
Well, I think I can answer from, like, your age and my age now because I know what it feels like for my friends to date at the age of 15, and then I know what it feels like for my friends to date at the age of mid-20s, like 24, 26, 25, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess, like, I'll first start with when I was 15. I think it was a struggle, like, oh, everybody's in a little bit of a cutesy relationship, and I'm over here not in one. And I think just with time, how would I say this? Basically with time, it will get better. And I know probably hearing that, it's like, oh, like, it's never going to get better. But literally time is so fast. And when you're 15, 16 years old, and you're like, oh, everyone's dating, literally your time is coming. Like,
yeah. You
may not feel like it is, and you may be like, oh, I'm always in this waiting stage. But honestly, just enjoy it. Figure out who you are. Boss up, girl boss it up, boy boss it up, figure out what you want. Like, I think, Kaysen and I talk about this, but I think at this time in your, like, stage of life, you're really trying to figure out what your core morals are and your values are. And if you have those, like, if I could redo it and go back to being 15, I think I would try to figure out, like, okay, what are my values, what are my morals that I could really, really strongly stand by. Like, literally, that's just going to make you more of an attractive person.
Yeah.
And the best time to do that is when you're single.
Yeah.
And when you're not distracted by butterflies or, a cute boy or a cute girl. Like, because I'm sure boys and girls listen to this.
Yeah.
But, that's what I would say. Time is going to come, and for you to find that person, but man, if you just focus on yourself and really try to figure out like what your values and your core is, you will be able to say yes and no and have your standards high. So then when that person, because people are going to like you at the end of the day, you're going to have crushes here and there, but like what are good crushes and what are bad crushes? So with you figuring out who you are, you'll be able to fish out the good crushes and bad crushes. crushes.
Yeah, that's good.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, and I feel like that's applied to a lot of areas with like your time is coming, because I feel like right now me and my friends are all like, oh, I cannot wait until I can drive. It'd just be so much easier if I could drive here and do this and do that. But it's like, also everyone's telling us like, wait, your time is coming, because you also don't want to wish this time away where you don't have the responsibility of paying bills or being an adult or doing that. So as much as we want to drive and we want to do all these things, it's also like we need to remember to enjoy like the timing that we're in right now, because it's like we're gonna look back and regret so much, like wishing that away, you know what I mean? And so yeah, and then also with like what you said about like finding out who you are and like, you know, setting all these things before you're distracted by all these things, that also comes with like, I feel like boundaries for a relationship. Like you should have in mind like what kind of boundaries you want in a relationship before you get into a relationship, so that way when like that can be like kind of a decision maker of like, should I even be in this relationship? Because then if you make those while you're in the relationship, I feel like you're just going to end up changing those to accommodate the person that you're with. So
yeah. And honestly, like, you being able to do that at this age is going to save you, oh my gosh, so much time when you're my age. Because honestly, I don't know what people are doing nowadays, but I literally, like what you said, like, your friends or you're at this stage of like, oh my goodness, I can't wait till I can drive. I can't wait till I get married. I can't wait till I find my person. Like, I think this morning I was in the car on the way to work, and I'm 24. I'll turn 25 in May. But I literally was sitting in the car, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've been driving for 10 years. Or almost 10 years. That's doesn't crazy. Feel possible. Yeah. And when I tell you, like, right now you may feel like LOL. You may feel like time isn't flying, but it is. Yeah. And I think when you look back and you see, like, okay, I know when I was a teenager, I did this right and I didn't rush into anything. Dude, I think it's just going to set you up for so much more success.
Yeah.
But people aren't going to see it like that, and that's fine. But
yeah,
I think if I could give my younger self advice, that's what I would tell her.
Yeah, that's really good. And at the end of that, you started to talk about good crushes and bad crushes. Do you want to talk a little bit more about what you mean by that?
Yes. Listen here, Finley's listeners. There are good crushes and bad crushes. Good crushes is where, like, that person that you have a crush on, if you're a girl and you have a crush on a boy, and if you're a boy and you have a crush on a girl, right now in life, y'all are trying to figure out a lot, and a lot is changing. Your body's changing, your mentality is changing. Like, hanging out with boys is cool, and hanging out with girls is cool. Is that people are sinners, people are broken, we live in a broken world, so you're going to have those people that are going to be your bad crushes. It's because they're still growing and they're still maturing. But honestly, like, the world is filled with good and bad people, and until you figure out like what's your good and what's your bad, or you know what lines up with your morals, you're gonna have a few mistakes, and that's okay. But no mistakes are, and be able to forgive and forget. Well, maybe not forget, but to forgive and let go and move on
and learn from.
Know what you like and know what you don't like, and I think that's what comes with bad crushes and good crushes. Like, they're still learning.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I think like before you like start dating people and you just kind of have those like crushes, or you're in like a little talking stage or whatever, that is like you learn so much about the other like relationships, the other person, and yourself, because like I feel like there's a lot of things that you have to learn about yourself before you're in a relationship, but there's a lot of things that you can't learn about yourself. Like, you literally can't learn about yourself until you're in a relationship. And so like when you're in those little talking phases and you learn these things about yourself that you couldn't have known before you're like talking to someone, like once you kind of start figuring out, okay, this is what it's like for me, or this is, you know, like taking those and not just walking away, because like I've been in little like talking phases with people where it's like, yeah, I could have walked away and just been like completely mad at the situation, or like, well, did I just waste the last however many months of my life, or like, you know, what was the point of all of that, God? Instead of like doing that, like taking it and being like, okay, this is what I learned. Like, obviously that person and that time frame was like, you know, in my life for a reason. And so taking that and figuring out how to learn from that versus, you know. just
yeah.
That,
and not only will God send you people in your life to like help you see and show you certain things, but the devil will too. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So like, I think when you trust God and you trust Him with your love life, dude, he will surprise you no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, people are like, oh, but I want it now. But honestly, like, His timing's perfect. So I think just constantly reminding yourself that.
Yeah. Yeah.
On His timeline, everything's perfect. Mm-hmm. But also know that His little enemy called the devil also likes to send people in your way to really screw up your path. And I think so many people get wrapped up in like the attention of somebody finally showing them quote unquote what love is, when that isn't actually love.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's where heartbreak comes in. Yeah. That's where life lessons come in. And you know, and that's where you just kind of lean on God, like, okay, like that person inevitably did come into my life. Why? What can I learn from it? And keep rolling, girl. And guy, whoever's listening, like, you just keep going with it. Like,
And
I think now, like, as a 24-year-old about to turn 25, I think those simple life lessons still apply now. I just think now, like, as I'm older, I can see the red flags, the green flags way quicker, because I have been through really crappy situations where I did really like a boy and he did some awful things and I couldn't get past it until I was like, okay, that was the biggest life lesson for me, and I know I'll never do that again. So then if I have a crush and I'm talking to them and we are becoming friends, but I'm also getting to know them, if I see the pattern that set me off, I cut it out. I'm just like, I can't do that again.
Yeah, that's good.
And I think it's really, it's really important to be friends with who you're going to eventually want to date.
Yeah.
I think that is, I know, I'm sure people are like, oh, you need to be friends with someone before you date them. But honestly, like, I kind of took that advice when I was younger and rolled it off my shoulder. But now, oh my goodness, that's probably the best advice I've ever gotten. Because not only are you friends with them and you literally have no strings attached to them, but you're just getting to know them. And they, since you are friends with them, they'll show you their true colors instantly. Because they're not trying to show you the best version of themselves. Yeah. Because when you have a crush, you want to show them the best version of yourself, but until time comes, you're going to end up seeing their true colors, and they're going to end up seeing yours. But while you're friends, it's like, oh, you'll see those quicker, and it's like, oh, okay, like, since I'm friends with him or her, they're dope, I could totally date them.
Yeah, that's really good advice, too, because, like, it's like, when you're starting to talk to someone you haven't really been friends with them before, it's like, and you start to realize, like, oh, this is what they're really like, or this is, it can just be a lot. Okay, so next, moving on to more of, like, the heartbreak, like, afterward. Well, I guess let's go to dating first, because heartbreak comes, like, last. So let me find one about dating. I just want to pop in really quick and say thank you so much for watching these videos, and if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And also, I want to tell you guys about a really exciting announcement. So I'm so excited to announce that I'm going to be partnering with Truly Beauty, and if you don't know what that is, but you're someone who loves great quality skincare and skincare that looks good on the shelf, Truly Beauty is what you're looking for. They're all about combining clean, healthy ingredients with fun and aesthetic packaging. And trust me, their formulas are next level. So whether you're looking for smooth, glowy skin, deeper hydration, or just some new self-care, they have something for you. And because I love you guys, Truly Beauty is going to offer you guys a great deal when you go to their website and you click the link in my description box below and you use the promo code Finley15. Again, that's Finley15. You'll get 15% off of anything on their website. So if you've been wanting to try them out or just need an excuse to buy some new skincare, or you're looking for the perfect gift for someone, you need to go check them out. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys. Let's get back. Okay, so how do I set boundaries in my relationship while staying true to my faith?
Communication and making sure that you set the standard for yourself. Mm-hmm. And once that person that you're talking to or dating crosses that or gets close to crossing it, you have to be able to be strong enough or willing enough to walk away or reiterate and be able to communicate. Like, okay, you crossed this boundary that I set for myself. You know, if that's personal reasons or religious reasons, like, I believe this is true based on, like, the Bible, your morals, your values, your standards. Like, that's where courage comes in with dating, where you're like, you have to put your foot down.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, I'm not going to have sex out of marriage. No, I'm not going to kiss you until, I don't know. Like, I don't know what people are doing now, but, like, when I was growing up, it was common for people to, like, not kiss until marriage. I don't know if that's, like, a thing now. I don't think it's, like,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what people
yeah,
are doing
I think I've seen a few
but,
people.
Like, whatever your boundary is, whatever you are like, okay, like, this is my line, and until, like, either you cross it or they cross it or you cross it together, that's where, one, you probably should have accountability. Mm-hmm. Two, you need to be open in your relationship with, like, your brothers and sisters in Christ. And three, you just need to pray about it and be like, okay, like, let's say, you know, like I said before, that person crosses that boundary. Like, what are you going to do? Because at the end of the day, God gave you free will.
Yeah.
But, like, you also need to obey him and still bring everything to him. So it's like, okay,
mm-hmm.
I mean, you're going to have to pray about it and be like, all right, God, like, this is what happened. You know what happened. Like, what do I do? Lead me in the wisest way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think you could approach, I think I would approach it like that, but you've got to make sure that that person you're talking to knows where you stand. Because if you don't and you have loose standards, people will walk all over your boundaries and walk all over you like your mud. And that's honestly, like, the hardcore truth of this world that we live in and the dating pool right now. Just because, like, you know, sin is real, lust is real, and it's like we live in a culture where we're on speed dating, where we have access to people's Instagram, we have access to people's numbers, we have access to people's Snapchat. Like, we are so accessible in this world that it's like, okay, if you don't stand on business, like, business will stand on you. Like, you will get trampled.
Yeah, that's really good. Because, this world, it can be so easy to, like, even compare your relationship, well, like, everyone else is doing it, so, like, why, you know. So that can be a really hard thing to, like, you know, debate between. But, okay, so this is kind of, like, a harder question to answer, I think, but, like, I guess, and I feel like there's not really an exact answer to this question. It kind of really just depends on the situation. But it says, someone asked, how do I know if God wants me to be with someone? I feel like there's not like
I don't even know if I know that answer.
Yeah, I feel like there's not like a this plus this equals, you know, it's not like a...
Yeah. You know, like, have you ever talked to an old couple and you're like, oh, how'd you know? And they're like, oh, I just knew.
We just knew, yeah.
And like, how?
Yeah, it's like that. That's what everyone says, but it's like, but yeah.
Really know? They're like, I just knew.
Yeah.
I think when you feel that, that's when you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that's like. I've had one real boyfriend, you know, and that's when I was 21, 22, and, you know, we broke up, and I really thought, like, okay, like, I think I may marry this guy, but things happen, and I eventually broke up with him. But, I mean, in the beginning, I was like, oh, I really could see a future with this guy. But, I mean, things just started happening, and traits that I didn't appreciate. Like, he was an awesome guy, you know, respect him, would never talk badly about him. But, you know, there were certain traits that I saw that I was like, you know what? I don't want this in my future husband. I don't want this for my kid's father or for their life or my life. Like, no. And I think I don't think I know God will show you those traits early on. Like, I listen to a podcast about relationships all the time, usually. And, you know, I'm not in one right now, so, like, I'm not actively listening, but I have gotten a lot of advice from good, solid people. And, like, there was this one guy that talked about relationships, and he's like, if you really watch what a person does, and you sit there and you're quiet for at least 15 minutes, they will tell you everything you need to know about them. And that kind of hits deep, because if you allow people just to be able to talk about themselves, they'll tell you their intentions.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, like, and I think that's the way of God letting you know, like, okay, there you go. Sit there and be still and listen to what this person has to say. And I think through that, it sounds so simple, but it's so complex at the same time.
Yeah.
But God talks to us in so many different ways. Like, your peace. Like, oh my goodness, Finley, I don't even know if I told you this, but, like, after I broke up with my long-term boyfriend, I did end up talking to a guy that, dude, I really liked. Like, I thought it was in-game. And you know who I'm talking about. I won't name names.
Yeah.
Because, you know.
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I really thought this guy was it for me. But God gave women a strong intuition. And I had so many little intuitions about this guy. And at the end of the day, when I found out everything that I found out, it was true. And literally God was telling me the whole entire time through my gut. Like, my peace.
Yeah.
The anxiety that I had. Like, sometimes I would have, like, random pimple outbreaks, and I would be like, wait, what is happening? Like, literally your body will tell you if this person is a bad person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's like God literally will give you so many signs. I think you'll just know. Like, if this is the right person or if this is the wrong person. And that's through peace, intuition. And, like, another thing is if you ask other people for advice, and those people aren't the same people, but they give you the same answer.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, in Bible classes these past couple weeks we've been talking about, like, relationships and stuff because of Valentine's Day, and we talked about on Friday how love is blind and how that's why we, like, need to listen to other people sometimes, because we genuinely, like, we might not be, like, looking for it. Or she even said, like, when I was dating, you know, in high school, we make excuses sometimes to where it's like, oh, like that's just cute. That's not, like, you know, when guys do a certain thing, or it's like, you know, you just say it as like, oh, it's so cute when they do that. But as they get older, if you think about it, if they still do that as they get older, it's like, oh, that's not, like, cute anymore. Or just things where it's like you need other people's, like, obviously your body will tell you, but if you're being blind to the fact, like, other people will tell you, because I've been in, like, positions before where my mom has told me, my friends have pulled me aside and have said, hey, you're different right now, like, when you spend more time with this person, and not in a good way. And so that's why it's also important to have those people in your life, because it's like you sometimes can be blind to the fact that, like, they're really, like, there are red flags going off, but you're just not seeing them.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's definitely a big one. It's like, love is blind, but wisdom isn't. And I think when you do fall in love, you have to fall in love with wisdom also, because that's the way that God talks to you, is through wisdom. Yeah. And it's like, if you have a good head on your shoulders, and like I said before, you find out what your core values are, you listen to the Lord, and you, like, base your life off the Bible, literally, your life could be very simple.
Yeah.
But we complicate it so much.
We do,
We complicate it all the time.
Yeah.
Because we're broken individuals and we're just sinners. So
yeah, that's so real.
It sucks.
yeah. So this one, okay, the question, let me tell the question and then, like, explain something. So the question is, what are some red flags to look at in guys? Which I don't want to just sit here and be, like, bashing guys in a way, you know what I mean? Because obviously girls, so the question to ask about is, like, as a girl, how can we, like, be avoiding red flags that girls can be, you know, having, not just in guys, because I feel like a lot of times girls are just like, oh, these are the red flags in guys that you should be looking for, but no one also talks about the backside of, like, well, what are the red flags in ourselves that we should be looking for and trying to fix, because not only are we looking for a guy, but a guy is looking, like, a good God-fearing, like, guy is looking for someone that is chasing after God. So, like, yeah, so many times we're like, oh, we're not going to date this guy, but we don't even think about the fact that there's a guy also out there looking for, you know, certain things in a girl. And so it's just important to talk about. So red flags in a guy, and it could be in a girl too, just like red flags in relationships, and we can just talk about how that can be for both guys and girls, which is also why, and I've talked about this so many times with, like, my friend group and all of our guy friends, is, like, coming on here and just talking about things like this with them also, because, which this is what we could pull Wit on for too in a little bit, but
just, he could give us his male perspective on women.
Yeah, he could. He could. It would
be fun.
It would be. So just talk a little bit about that.
Okay, I like that you don't want to just bash guys, because I feel like the world is already attacking masculinity.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. But us women, yes, I am talking about us females, we could be pretty ruthless.
And petty and, and all the things.
We could be pretty bad, you know? So, if you're a girl listening to this, maybe, like, if you're struggling with some not the best traits, I mean, I think everybody can change. I think everybody, if they are willing to put in the work, they can change. Mm-hmm. But, I think this is for both people, okay? And this is a little deep, so be ready. And if you need to cut this out, you can. Okay. But I don't know, like, how you feel about this. But, like, if a girl and a guy are, like, into, like, watching porn, you know, as much as we bash on guys, like, watching porn,
it's a girl yeah.
Girls also watch porn.
That is so good. We talked about that Wednesday night at church, because, like, they did this whole thing, and they separated the guys and the girls, and they said, look, like, this is a whole thing around the guys, but she was like, I'm willing to bet that several of you girls in this room are also struggling with this. So, it's...
And so, I think, I don't want to say that that's a red flag. I mean, I think it's, like, if a girl or a guy is watching it and they don't see it as a red flag, that's a red flag. Mm-hmm. But if they're actively trying to work through it, it's like, okay, like, give them that time to work through that.
Before you date them.
It destroys people. Yeah. It changes your brain. It changes the chemicals. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Like, I did research on it, and I was like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah, we talked about it.
So,
one thing that they said was, like,
makes you dumber.
Yeah. And, like, as an 8-year-old, if you were scrolling on a computer and you just had one glimpse of something, you have a 75% more chance of being addicted to it as you get older. Just as an 8-year-old that just happening to, like, scroll past something really fast, like, 75% ups your chance.
Soft watching porn on Instagram Reels or, like, the TikTok dances, like, Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the soft launching where the curiosity killed the black cat. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean, when you're curious, you're gonna get in trouble, but curious with boundaries, I guess, can be all right. But I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah, that's.
But I guess that's like toxic and red flag in both parties. Mm-hmm. For guys, I would say. Watch, like, if they talk about women in a degrading way, if they talk to about their mom in a degrading way, and if, like, they're just not nice, those are probably biggest red flag people you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I'm just saying, like, with guys, like, watch how they talk about themselves, watch how they talk about women, and if they say something that's derogatory or just not, like, where you're almost, like, like, gasping by what they're saying, like, believe it.
Yeah.
Believe it.
Yeah.
And run.
Yeah, that's good. Because also, like, what you said about, like, talking about themselves, like, okay, I'm a person that, like, I talk a lot in general, so I just talk about a lot of things, and sometimes I feel like I happen to talk about myself too much. Now, it's not like I'm purposely trying to be, like, me, you know what I mean? But it can be so easy to fall into, so that's why, like, in areas like that, I also...
talking about ourselves. Like,
yeah. Yeah, and it's, well...
We love it.
And which is why it's also, like, in those areas, I try and give people grace, but I also try and, like, at the same time be like, okay, there is a line where it's, like, you can tell if, like, you know what I mean, someone is... But we talked about this Wednesday night, not Wednesday night, at school the other day, and it's like with guys or girls, we talked about, relationships and how moms can view them, and it's like there were some things at the beginning of my Bible teacher's daughter and her now husband, who have like a great marriage, just got married, like super sweet couple, when at the beginning of them dating, she saw some things that the mom was like, I don't like this. And he kind of had made some jokes about she was blonde and she was like very book smart, all this stuff, but some common sense things, it kind of like me, like with some common sense, it's just kind of not there, you know what I mean? And so he would like make mention to her, like, when they would make a joke and she wouldn't get it, he'd be like, oh, she'll get it in a minute. Or, like, make all these, kind of, like, dumb blonde jokes.
Like, that's not, I mean, at the moment, it may be like, oh, that's so cute, hee hee, ha ha.
Yeah.
But, like, watch the way he talks to you. Watch the way he talks around you. What does he say to his friends?
Yeah.
Like,
but I'm telling
you, if you, like you said, you like to talk about yourself, not in a toxic, weird way. It's just, if you want to win people over, let them talk about themselves.
Yeah.
Like, honestly.
Yeah.
But I know this isn't about, like, psychology.
Yeah.
Tricks up your sleeve. But you will learn a lot about people if you sit back and listen to what they have to say. Yeah.
Well, and it also comes to a part where she said that, like, her daughter went up to her boyfriend and was like, hey, like, I didn't, like, when you made this joke, it kind of made me feel uncomfortable, and I didn't love the way that you, like, kind of talked about me in that moment. And here's the difference between if you feel like it's even worth it to confront that person in the first place. If you don't feel like it's worth it, then, like, obviously, like, don't date them. But if you think, like, I like really like this person, I think it would be worth. So she said the difference is, like, when she went to him, he was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize, like, it crossed you and her, like, mind in that at all, like, I was just joking. And she said he worked to change it and he never did that again. Now that's the difference between if a guy
perfect man.
Well, right, when he, like, works to, like, change it versus, like, if he would have continued to do that. So that's the thing where it's like, are they gonna try and work to change and be like, I did not? Because genuinely sometimes people can think things are funny that's like, well, really, that wasn't funny, but it didn't cross their brain in that way, but it crossed into your brain that way. And so that's why communication is also so important.
100. I think it is the key to success, and it is the key to being able to have a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
But that's one thing. Like, let's say you talk to your girlfriend or you talk to your boyfriend, and they have done that, and you addressed an issue that made you uncomfortable or hurt your feelings, and you're like, hey, like, I would really appreciate if you stopped. Look, if they did it again, cut it out.
Yeah.
On both parties. Like,
yeah.
I mean, that just is a sign that they potentially may really not respect you, and that on both ends, that's not good.
For sure. Yeah, that's definitely really important to watch out for.
Yeah. So, I mean, and listen, stand on business. Don't let things slide. We let so many things slide in our lives. That's why some people, like, get trampled on by others. And it's just like, no, like, stand on business and don't let that happen.
Yeah.
And it's hard. Like, you will probably allow some people to slide, but it's like, those are learning lessons, and that's okay. Like, life is a learning lesson. It will always be a learning lesson.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you can get in good practice of that now, like, people won't be able to cross you, boy or girl.
Yeah.
And they'll respect you more, which I think is top tier.
Yeah, that's
girls, right. Man, gosh, I'm a girl, so, like, I'm a woman. Let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
With women, I think a red flag is criticizing in public.
Yeah.
Like, if you fight in public.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like a red flag is if they're trying to, like, attract you towards them and not towards God. Like, if a girl's trying to pull your attention onto her by what she wears, what she says, like, her actions, versus trying to push you with her towards God. You know what I mean? Like, that's just also important. So.
Yeah, I would also agree. I just don't. I think if she distracts you and it's distraction that creates cheap dopamine release in your brain, then you need to walk away. If that's them, like, playing a head game with you, or if, like, they don't allow you to do certain things, like, because at the end of the day, y'all, when you end up dating someone, you still are you, and they still are them, and y'all still have your own separate lives.
Yeah.
Don't get so consumed with each other where you literally stop living your own life. Still have your hobbies, still have your friends, still do what you love to do. Like, your life shouldn't be surrounded by this person.
Yeah, because also, if you guys go to break up and you have given up all those things, you're going to go through sort of an identity crisis, because you're going to be like, okay, what do I do now? Because I kind of did that. Like, I had talked to this guy for like 8 months. 8 months is a long time. And this is when my friends kind of pulled me aside and had told me, like, hey, you're different. Like, you don't talk to us as much. You don't hang out with us as much. Even when you're with us and you're not with him and he's not there, you're on your phone talking to him. Like, you're just not present anymore. And, you know, I also, like, I could feel it in my gut that I wasn't. Like, I knew that they were right. But I kind of just brushed it off. And then, you know, I had, like, stopped doing all these things, and it was just, like, but when that ended, it came to a point where I, like, the reason that I didn't want to, like, end things was because I didn't know what my life would be like anymore. Like, what would I spend my time doing? And so, yeah, that's so important to keep your friendships and, you know, kind of, like, you know, and if he's pulling you away from that and he isn't wanting you to go towards that, or she isn't wanting you to stay with your friendships and they're trying to pull you away from those things, then that is also a red flag.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think, you know, we could go down the whole red flags on both ends, but I think that's a good.
Yeah, that's a good little.
Bit on that.
Yeah. All right, so kind of as a wrap up, as like heartbreak, kind of after the relationships, is just how you move on from heartbreak in a mature way, as like seeing the other person as like not hating them, bashing them out, talking crap about them all the time. It's like walking away in a mature way.
Oh, man. I think this is a superpower, but people don't realize it, like, breaking up maturely.
Mm-hmm. It says a lot about the people.
Huh?
It says a lot about the people.
Yeah, it says a lot about the person. As hard as it may be, and as hard as that breakup may go, and as hard as it may feel, grieve, one, because I think if you sit on the couch and you're able to, what is the term now? Rot?
Yeah, rot.
Like, if you can rot on the couch and be able to feel your feelings and cry it all out, you need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's healthy.
Yeah.
And, and no contact, dude. Mm-hmm. No contact.
That's dangerous.
Wins the game. Or it's not even a game. It just wins. It is a game, actually, because, like, at the end of the day, we're like, oh, is he going to text me back? Is she going to text me back even though we just broke up? Like, even if they reach out to you, I think no contact for at least a month.
Yeah.
Like, I think after breaking up, you just you just move on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do not talk to them.
Yeah.
Don't post petty things on your Snapchat. Don't post, like, on your social, like, relationship things. Like, literally continue living, continue being who you are, continue hanging out with your friends and family. And, like, that's a good time to go out with your girlfriends or go out with your guy friends and be like, hey, like, let's go bowling, let's go to a new coffee shop, like, let's do something. And being able to talk about your breakup with somebody that's trusted. I wouldn't talk about it with everybody, but I would have that trusted person where, like, they're willing to listen to your heartbreak, because honestly it is a grieving process, and you know, you do need to talk about it. But I wouldn't talk about it with everyone because, you know, words do get around quickly. So I would say, like, no contact. Being able to, like, if somebody's breaking up with you and you see it out of, like, you don't see it coming, being able to, like, ask your questions during the breakup and try to get as much closure as you can during that talk is probably the best, because after that, like, you probably shouldn't talk to them.
Yeah, that's good.
And it may be hard not to, like, flip out or cry. Like, I would try to save your emotions until you're off the phone, as hard as that may sound. Like, and maybe that sounds, like, not emotional at all, but, like, just try to save your tears for when you're alone, or with your mom, or with your best friend, or with your dog, or with your cat, or with your dad, like, whoever it is, siblings, I don't know. But, and if somebody was like, hey, I don't want this anymore, being able to be like, okay, can I ask why? And if they can be like, yeah, this, and this, and this, or if they're like, no, I just want to break up, then you being able to be like, okay, that's fine, and not give it all this emotion, and not give it, like, not texting them these long paragraphs, but being able to accept what's happening and being like, okay, shows more grit and shows more control over your emotions than, like, sending them a long paragraph or crying on the phone. And, like, the Bible says a man who rules his emotion rules the city. And I think that's so true.
Yeah, that's good. I think you know who I'm... Again, I won't name any names either, but I think you know who I'm talking about when I talked about my longer talking to... So at the end of that, I knew that I had needed... Like, I had kind of prayed this prayer. I was about to spend, like, a week with this person on... like, just be with them a lot that week, and I just kind of prayed to God, and I was like, God, like... like, the whole relationship, I'd kind of been like, yeah, God, like, it's yours, but not actually giving it to him, just, like, saying that. And at this week, I was like, God, like, I'm actually giving this to you now. And that week, like, he just showed me so evidently that, like, that needed to not be going on anymore. And so at the end of that week, it took me a month to end things officially with this person. I had just kind of stopped talking to him as much, told him I kind of needed a break. Kaitlyn, I called him 3 times to end things, didn't do it any of those. 3 times with the intention of it, but I was, like, too scared to hurt his feelings, which can be so hard, but, like, that, so, like,
honestly, so dangerous. Like, just do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just do it.
Yeah, because it was just...
It's so hard to do it.
Well,
I get it.
And it was making it, honestly, like, worse on me that I was, you know? And so just, like, at the end of that, someone's playing the piano. Just basically just move on, and I ended up calling my mentor to just say, like, hey, you know, this is happening, and she came over and she talked me through it. So just finding someone older than me. I'm talking fast because Whit's about to walk in, and we're going to ask him our question. We decided to pull you in for a little ending segment of the episode. So,
is this Kaitlyn Evans?
This is Kaitlyn Evans.
Wait, am I going to be in this video?
Yeah.
What are some red flags in women that you would tell boys about?
To avoid.
Probably when... Well, number one, if they have a lot of guy friends...
Okay.
You know, I feel like that's maybe a red flag. or when they're okay with... Actually, a red flag for me is when they're super controlling and when they want to know, like, why you're not able to respond within an hour during work.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't love the Lord, that's a red flag.
Obviously.
If they don't care about modesty, that's a red flag. If they have been in multiple relationships before and they haven't seemed to work out, that's a red flag. If they text you pictures of yourself while you're trying to do a podcast, that's a red flag.
Yeah. I told Finley, I said a red flag is like when you're not able to live your life and they're not able to live like their life, because we're still individuals at the end of the day, and just like you're consumed with each other.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh gosh, like
consumption is bad. Yep. No, that's good. Well, that's a wrap.
That's a wrap, man. We've got to do the podcast with Finn.
Yeah, you do. Would you like to say tell everyone bye?
If they don't want to have kids, it's a red flag.
Alright, well, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. We'll have to do a full episode with these two on here soon. So, yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode.